another edition of the Shirlma Show. With us today is Oliver Nshom. Welcome to the Shirlma Show, Oliver.
Thank you.
For those who don't know Oliver, Oliver is a professional speaker and an author of books such as Step Out of the Box, Digital Evangelism. Oliver, so your best friend in class 7, how will he describe you? Class 7 in the primary school.
Thanks for the question, Shirley. My best friend in class 7 would describe me as a school dropout.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about this dropping out. Did you just want to be some Mark Zuckerberg of Cameroon or Bill Gates or something like that?
Well, everything that happened was unconscious.
Okay.
So, you know, human being has 3 different types of minds. We have the conscious, we have the subconscious, and we have the unconscious. So when everything that happened was actually unconscious, because I never planned for that, I never prayed for that. It just happened. I can say that's how nature wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. So it is crazy that my parents never had any hope in me. I mean, nobody literally had any hope in me. I was considered as that child, that boy. I was just meant to just be in the village, you know, go do hunting, you know, get into people's farms, get sugarcane, eat, harvest granite, and then stay and be arrogant. So, but how God would turn the story around, I can't say the intricacies of it. But the truth is that that is how the story was meant to be, to the best way.
Before the show, you're telling me that you dropped out of school almost 7 times.
Yeah,
you know about
yeah.
that.
It sounds truly crazy, and it's almost unbelievable. Like, people ask me every day, Oliver, how comes that you drop out from school up to 7 times and you're doing what you're doing? You know, it's very interesting how life turns around. Yeah. That's why we need to be very careful how we look at people today. You never know how tomorrow turns out to be. I have classmates that mocked at me in primary school because I was truly very dull in primary school. Because everybody was calling me dull. You know, what you give out is what we get. Yeah. So parents at times call their children names, thieves, dull. That's what they get. Yeah. So my parents actually were calling me those names because I was manifesting the reality. And the prophecy came true at the primary school. So it was a prophecy. But, you know, God being very faithful, when I actually dropped out almost 5 times in the primary school before I even went to secondary school. But for my first year in primary school, class 1, I dropped out. It was crazy. Like, I went to school literally because I saw people going to school. Parents never really had hope because I was kind of, you know, antisocial. I was having attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. And what that means is that I was very active. You know, this type of children that are super active, and at times they're just active to the fault. So that was the type of child I was. So there was no hope. So I dropped out several times. And I remember myself dropping out. I actually got invited to go and stay with my aunt, my dad's cousin. She took me. I went to Catholic school. I went straight to from class 4 because my age mate were at class 4. So I said, okay, let me just follow my age mate, and that's the class that best fit me. But guess what? It was 3 weeks in class. I was always having 0/10, 0/20, 0/10. It was crazy. So I was reported to my father. My father said I should come down. My auntie said I should come down. The headmaster evaluated me, and I was terrible. And they brought me back from class 4 to class 2. You can imagine. So it was crazy. So I dropped out.
And how does that play on your psychology as a young person?
Well, truly it affected me. Truly my total performance. I wrote one of my book, 25 Things You Must Do Before You Clock 30 Years. Yeah. And in that book, I was trying to help young people who are going through what I went through. Yeah. Like, I talked about the 18-40-60 rule in the book. And it's actually an amazing, I said there, at the age of 18 years, you know, the things we want to say, the things we want to do, the things we feel like doing, we are very scared of what mom will say, what dad will say, what cousins, siblings, friends will say. But at 40, we do not really care what says what, because we believe we are matured enough to make decisions for ourselves. Yeah. But unfortunately, at 60, we begin to regret a lot. The things we had to do at 18, at 17, at 20, at 25, that we were so scared of what mom, dad, uncle, siblings, friends around will say, that we've actually failed not to do them. Those are the things that could have given us the amazing life we have been having at 60 years. Yeah. So with that, I had to, I had to do what I could do my best at a level. So, and that's what I think the results are coming today.
So, Oliver, when did you become a motivational speaker?
I became a motivational speaker, professional, where I was invited to speak in conferences, seminars at the age of 25.
Okay, by then, did you have advanced level?
No.
Okay, now, somebody looking at you, that Oliver became a motivational speaker before having his advanced level might also think, oh, if Oliver was already making it then what's the need of me going to school? So what will you tell such youth?
Beautiful. I want to appreciate so much the fact that I dropped out from school as many times as I did, because it was a learning process to me. It was a journey that God was walking me through to be able to tell my story to the world. And that actually enables me and positions me in a strategic location to best tell my story to the world. I believe that, like in lower six, in 2009, I was in lower six, so I dropped out from school, lower six. That actually wired me to think differently. Could you imagine, I was actually doing sciences in high school. I was science-driven, oriented. So when I dropped out from lower six, I spent over 5 years, 5 good years. Now, within these 5 years, that's where the real transformation took place in my life. Within the 5 years, I had to, going back to the drawing table. I had to have some debate with God and have some discussions like, why am I here? Because the mistake a lot of people do, they just push and send children to school without knowing the purpose of them going to school. And that's why we have PhDs who are fighting to get jobs. It's crazy. I believe that with A-level, you should be able to create and innovate jobs, not necessarily having a PhD and looking for the job. It doesn't make really sense to me. So what I'm saying is that we should know why we're going to school before we go to school. We should actually, not everybody was meant to go to school, maybe to the level of degree, masters, and PhD. Not everybody. I bet you, not everybody. So people can make it a lot, even without A-level I'm talking about. So you need to understand your dynamics of surviving in life based on the original intent by your creator. So when I dropped out from lower six, when I was doing sciences, guess what? Within the time, that's when I discovered my talent of being a writer, being a speaker, being an inspiration to a lot of people. And doing science was amazing, but it was not truly amazing like doing art. Oh. So within this time, I had to discover myself. That's when I found myself. So when I found myself, I noticed that I was not a science type. I was an artist. I was a speaker.
What triggered that? Like what triggered? Because, with some people, like for me, I've been lucky to meet mentors along the way. I've been lucky to meet people who can act like a coach to me. Right. But now, there are some people who might not have this opportunity to meet such people. So in your case, what triggered you to actually discover your calling? Beautiful.
So that was in Bamenda when I dropped out. I had to come down to Douala. Like God sent Moses in the desert. That's sent David. That's the same thing happened to me. So my 5 years in Douala was like I was in the desert to discover myself and reinvent the wheel. So what triggered me? Naturally, there are certain things that I loved doing. Okay. I remember when I wrote my O-levels in 2009 and 2008-9, within the holidays, I was selling this cafe in Bamenda, pushing and selling along the way. And I made so much money. I made closer to 50,000 francs during that holiday. Wow. That was enough money for me to buy all my science textbooks. Guess what, Shirlma? But guess what? I took all that money. I went to the Christian bookshop in the city of Bamenda, and I bought motivational and inspirational book. All the money. I had it hard with my dad. He was mad at me. He was like, Oliver, you've gone crazy again. I was like, okay, Dad, this is what I love doing. He's like, you were going to lower six science and you're needing chemistry, biology, all these, complex textbooks. And I told him, well, I just bought the textbooks I need. For him, he could not understand me by then. So, but as time goes on, he had to understand. But so what I'm saying here is that I bought those books out of strong drive and passion for it. That's why I want to advise parents. At times when you see children doing certain things, don't just judge them. Yeah. Try to find them, try to guide them. How I wish my parents could really guide me in those early days, in what I was doing. I think I could be more better than where I am right now. So when I bought these books, I had so much passion. I was reading like crazy, like crazy. So I bought around 7 books. I finished reading them. Unfortunately, my friends begged some of them. Till today, I've never had them. Don't give out your books to people, please. So, what am I saying? So, there are some things that drive me. And up to date, I read 25 books every year. And I invest around 25,000 every month on books. Like when I'm traveling, I'm having a library. I finish the books before I get to my destination. So, I had that strong passion, that drive to read books, to research, to attend seminars, to go to workshops, to follow motivational speakers on YouTube. Nobody asked me to do that. What is that thing that you just push to do it? And when you sit without doing it, you're not feeling good. You're not feeling comfortable. What is it? You don't need a mentor to advise you, neither a prophet to prophesy to you that this is what you're going to do. So I just had that push, that drive. And guess what, Shelly? In high school, before I dropped out from lower six, I paid my classmate to listen to me talk during breaks.
Wow.
So fortunately, I was made the class prophet, and during break, I saw students idling. I've read this book by late Dr. Miles Morrow, may his soul rest in peace. That was a mentor. Discover and Unleash Your Potentials. When I read the book, I became crazy, totally crazy. When I was going to school, I was talking to somebody. When I was coming back from school, I was talking to somebody. When I was in school, I was looking for somebody who can pay at least 150 francs to listen to me just to talk to him. And I was obsessed to motivate. Yes, I was obsessed. And that is how I found my passion. So nobody had to come and tell me that, Oliver, you do this. But of course, I have more than 2,000 people who are personally written to me and say, Oliver, I see you can make a good career as a speaker. I love, anytime I'm with you, I will learn something. So what are these things that people constantly tell you? Don't tell them to tell you. They just come spontaneously. That is how I found my passion.
You mentioned something, okay, that when you were still in, I think after secondary school, you worked and got money.
Yeah.
But in my case, even when I was in the university, my mom never wanted me to touch money. She felt like money was going to distract me. Yeah, I know you're looking at her, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. She never wanted me to touch money.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts around this? Because some parents feel like, okay, if I introduce my kids to money at a very early age, it might distract them. While others feel like this is training. Out there, someday you will need to actually manage money. You need to deal with money, actually. So what are your thoughts on this?
Brilliant question. Well, everything is about mindset.
Okay.
You know, our mind is a powerful weapon that if we can use our mind very well, we can make mountains, we can move mountains, Shirley. Now, let me show you something about the brain.
Okay.
You know, the brain has a way of giving us fake information and true information, depending on our environment, depending on our mindset, how we have been wired, how we were informed, how we were educated when we were growing up. Yeah, personally, I don't believe in the culture of a child has to go to a certain age before he starts doing certain things. For instance, science has proven that after 12 years, the child's brain actually matured enough for the child to understand some complex subjects like finances and other issues. So my recommendation is at the age of after 12 years, the child should at least start receiving education on finances. Because at that level, if the child is well nurtured, well cooked, he can grow up to be very, very fantastic in financial management. So when you want to leave a child to grow up to university above, and before you start managing money, you're not careful, the child will go behind you and learn how to manage money. And by the time you're bringing that education, it's obsolete. And guess what? The child has learned his own ways, and that's what can really frustrate the child more. So we should behave like Michelle Obama, who actually trained her kid to be dependent, like anything they can handle. You know, the mother doesn't have to be there, even at the age of 10, 12 years as they're growing up. The mother doesn't have to be there for them to handle certain things. And we should also behave like late Dr. Miles Morrow, may his soul rest in peace. This is what he does. When the child has an issue, he never just give an answer. He always asks the child, what do you think? Maybe like a situation where the child is like, Mom, I'm not enough to manage finances. Like, what do you think about finances? Maybe get their perspective and try to guide them and nurture them on that as they grow.
If you want to listen to more of this, please stay with us. As after the break, more with Oliver Nshom. If you're just joining us today on the Shirlma Show, in the house with us is Oliver Nshom, a professional speaker and author of books such as 25 Things to Do Before 30, Step Out of the Box, among others. Oliver, what are some of the myths surrounding motivational speaking in Cameroon today?
Thanks so much for that question. Again, Shirley. A lot of myths. I've personally had guys who criticize me online, offline. Like, you know, if you look around, most of the highest jokes at times comes from motivational speakers. Like, they will tell you that you can start a business at 500 francs. That's what motivational speakers do. And I was just reading a comment on Facebook or a post on Facebook that a friend of mine shared, and the guy was actually criticized motivational speakers. And he says stuff like motivational speaker would ask him to jump every morning 5 times, and then he will be productive. And he did, and nothing happened. It's crazy. It's crazy. But then motivational speaker is an interesting art for those who have a mastery. I have a problem with people who just read a book and they jump up. They say, henceforth, I'm a motivational speaker. It doesn't make sense. And those are actually people that when we see such people, we want to call them to order. Like I had a situation, I've called a lot of guys, contacted some guys online, said, pull down that stuff you posted on your thing. It doesn't make sense. And I had to mentor them and coach them. So one of the first myths about motivational speaking is that everybody believes that if you can read a book that inspires you, henceforth you can even take stuff from the book and start motivating people. No, that's not motivational speaking. That is arrogance. It's not motivational speaking. And again, another myth is that some people believe that once they have maybe a degree, A-levels, or some qualification, they can speak good English. You know, you can express yourself very well. You can automatically, you can call yourself a motivational speaker. No. That does not qualify. The fact you can speak good English and you have maybe a master's degree doesn't qualify you a motivational speaker. And again, some people just believe that, they could start at any time. Maybe you failed in life. You failed so much in life and you're having a tough time to make it again in life. Maybe because of laziness, you know. I addressed issues of laziness in some of my books, and signs and symptoms of laziness. Maybe not for today, maybe another day, you can handle that. So maybe, some people are very lazy. And I have issues. I have a friend of mine, thank God, he works with the UN today. He has his master's and he's working with UN. One day he came to my house in Douala when I was in my wilderness. So he told me, Oliver, he's a very good friend, a very great guy today. He told me, Oliver, this life like this now, we can always survive. Don't bother. If the worst comes to the worst, he told me that after his degree, if he doesn't get a job, he doesn't succeed in his entrepreneurship endeavor or ambition, guess what? He's going to start a church. He's going to start a church. And he's eloquent, he's charismatic, he knows the word and stuff. So he can start his church. And I was wondering, who will call you to start the church? Who will call you? Is it, a lot of people have started churches by calling themselves, So that's an error, that's a myth. So this guy, thank God that he's not a pastor today. At least today he worked with UN. He's a great guy, mean it. And so some people just believe that if government don't employ me, if I don't succeed in my project business I want to do, if I don't get sponsored for my NGO, I'm going to begin a motivational speaker and begin to tell my failure stocks that no, that's not how it works. And a lot of myths that surrounds motivational speaking.
So what does it take to become a motivational speaker?
Oh, I was waiting for that.
Okay, you have it now.
Yeah, I have it now. First, educationally, I started motivational speaker without having A-levels.
Yeah,
I told you.
Mentioned.
So first, educationally, you must have at least A-level. At least A-level. If you don't have at least A-level, you haven't started and you don't have what it takes to become a motivational speaker. Second, you need to have a story. You need to have a story. I used to ask speakers that I train. I've trained closer to 300 speakers when I started training public speakers, and they're doing exceedingly so well. Wow. I used to ask them, what's the difference between you and Tony Robbins? What's the difference between you and Simon Sinek, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, JFK, Les Brown, Oprah Winfrey, what's the difference between you? Okay, if you're invited to speak in US, in Canada, what are you going to say that will inspire these white guys that any other one of them will not say it? Yeah. That's the difference. So you need to have a story.
And a unique one for
And a unique one. I bet you can become an amazing speaker, even at this age, right? Yeah. Just with a story. Because your story is what makes you unique. That's what a lot of people don't do. But the error that a lot of people are doing is that they rather hide their story. Oh. There are a lot of people who have very awful stories in life that when they share the story, they themselves, they cry. Yeah. People feel so bad that, you went through. I remember when I just came, I was sharing my stories with Mom, and she was like, really? I'm like, yes, Mommy, yes, really, yes. And she was like wondering, I could see how she was moved emotionally. Yeah. That is the story I'm talking about. What is that story, that thing, that experience you went through in your life, and you feel like no one can hear, but they hear that they can't believe I was the one. Yeah. That's the story I'm talking about. Wow. That's the story that can make you a world-class speaker and a motivational speaker. Because I will not say anything that Les Brown have not said it. Yeah. Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, the amazing speaker in the world, world number one. I won't say it, but my story, they don't have my story. And that's what makes me unique. That's what makes me special as a speaker. So when I tell my stories, I move people with my story. That's the key thing. If you don't have a story that you worked on it with expert, then you're not qualified. But once you have one, you're good to go.
Oliver, you've successfully reached over 2 million youth with your story.
Yeah.
So, and you're not planning to end there, because you even mentioned that you want to reach 12 million people by the year 2028.
You're right.
So what's the plan?
Okay, that's smart. You know, I believe in mentorships and mentors and coaching.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing number of them around the world. So this is my plan. By 2028, I have to reach out to 12 million young people in Africa, you know, adding intrinsic value to themselves. Now, I have a very simple and nice, smart plan for that.
Wow.
Okay, I have 12 million young people to reach between 2018 and 2028.
Yeah.
Then I have to reach to mentor 15,000 mentees.
Wow.
And I have to reach out to 500 proteges. You know, Shirley, the difference between a mentee and a protege, there's a difference. A mentee, right, is somebody who sits under the feet of a mentor to learn. We'll not get to the intricacies of mentorship. Now, a protege is kind of a mentee to somebody very influential. Like, for instance, somebody told me I have proteges, not mentees. You get it? So I'm talking of 500 proteges by 2028, God willing and helping me, and 15,000 mentees.
Wow.
And right now, as I'm talking, I have a couple of proteges and mentees already. Now, I cannot reach out to 12 million young people in Africa by 2028 alone. Get it? I can't do that. So I have to develop a model where I have young people who love doing what I'm doing, who have that similar passion I do. I take them in my inner circle. I nurture them. I inspire them first. I equip them and empower them. Now, there's a difference between inspiring, equipping, and empowerment. These are three different things. So I first inspire them by what I'm doing. When I'm doing my work, a lot of people are getting attracted to what I'm doing. I'm inspiring them. So when they see I'm inspiring them, they come. When they come, I equipped. Equipping is having sessions with them. 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, coaching and empowering, giving them books to read and taking them for seminars, sending them for seminars to be trained. That's equipping. Now, empowering them is when I have now group plans with them. Everybody, I have a group plan with everybody. A group plan for the next 1 year, next 2 years, 3 and 4 years, where we sit and we study it, we look failures, and we see how we can re-strategize. That's what I'm talking about. So, the 500 proteges I'm talking about, right? Yeah. They are my disciples, like Jesus. You know, the gospel has reached Africa, and we are benefactors of the gospel because of the 12 disciples.
You know, you're not only a motivational speaker. While you're motivating people, you're also motivating people through your books, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and you wrote this book, Step Out of the Box.
Yeah.
So please, can you give me like some practical examples of scenarios where you've stepped out of the box and what became out of it when you stepped out of the box?
Okay. Okay, that's beautiful. You know, see, let me just explain a scenario so we get this right. Have you ever been in a situation where you have an appointment with somebody and then you happen to arrive there early before the person comes, and the person maybe asks you to stand at the junction and be waiting, and then you stand at the junction, your eyes are everywhere. You're like, you're looking here, you're looking there, you're looking there. You're like, the person can pop up from no end of the junction or directions. You've been in that situation before?
Yes. Sure,
okay,
sure.
I love that. You've been there.
Yeah.
And probably our listeners must have been in such a situation. Now, this I want to depict something from that scenario. That is what happens with your calling. You know, we all came here on earth for something. That is how that thing is waiting for us. If you're born to be a speaker, you're born to be a singer, to be a TV host, like what you're doing, if you're not doing it, that thing you're born to do is waiting for you as much as, or as such as somebody waiting for somebody who has been having an appointment with him at a particular junction. Yeah. So you see how important we need to actually connect with those things that we all came to do here on earth. Now, this is what inspired me to write Step Out of the Box. What happens was that, like I earlier said, you know, no one believes in me. I was called crazy, you know. Literally, nobody believes in me. I was very dull and stupid, you can imagine. So everybody kept me in a jail cell. They locked me in the jail cell, literally mentally jail cell. They locked me there and they caged me. So my destiny was for the jail cell. Yeah. You understand? So, okay, there are a lot of people listening to us right now. They are currently going through that jail cell. They call you stupid, they call you Nigeria, they call you good for nothing, child. There are a lot of people who have found themselves in that particular JSA where people also know them, they only know them as failures. Yeah. They only know them as X, as Y. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Shirley. So what happened was that, so I was asking myself, is this the end of my life? Is this all? It is all that, after all the work that God went through to bring me on earth, is this where it's ending? So I challenged myself. I said, I have to step out of this box, you know, that I've been caged inside. And when I made up my mind to step out of the box, everybody told me I could not. I came from a poor background. My father is a traditional doctor from Uku. Whoa. My mother is a farmer. And you can imagine, I'm literally the first person to have a first school leaving an O-level, A-level degree in my family. Wow. So literally, there was no hope. No one to sponsor me, no one to buy even a book to give to me. Like, boy, sit down and stop making noise. That's what I receive from people. But I want to give thanks to God for fighting the battles together with me. You know, being the son of the traditional doctor is painful because at times people look you at a certain, at times people look at you and like, nothing good can come out of this guy, you know. And it's painful when people give stereotype about you. But I'm like, okay, I can be the son of the traditional doctor with a difference.
Of course.
Because I'm not only the son of the traditional doctor, I'm the son of the living God. Wow. And I'm here for a purpose or a mission. And my mission have to be fulfilled. And guess what? I was fearless. I was undefeatable. I was indomitable. Wow. And what I did was I had some fasting, series of fasting. I have to break all the yokes. The captivities have been set inside. I have to break them through the power of prayer. So some people who have not been taking prayer serious, not only prayer but fasting is very crucial. It's very this is between life and death. So you don't play with your life because you're going to give an account to God of how you used it. So that's how I did. I did that. I read books. God sent people to me who helped me, you know, lifted me up. And then the book came to birth. Wow. And the interesting thing is that the success stories of the books are phenomenal. I have a lot of people around the world that have read the book, amazing testimony. But among the testimonies, one of such testimonies is a testimony of a little guy in Ombe, who actually got a copy of the book. So when he read the book, he was charged up. You know, like when electricity hits you, like jumped. The guy was charged up, and he competed for a competition where he won, I think, 1.5 million francs. Like what do people do? Yeah. He won a competition. And today, his project was how to preserve perishable foodstuffs without using a refrigerator. Wow. Like you have it from the farm, you keep it for 6 months without it getting bad. Oh. So he wrote the project, presented it, got a scholarship, and he actually won the competition. And he wrote to me, he sent me the pictures. He said, Coach, this is what has happened. I've just finished reading the step of the book. I want to do something that reflects step out of the box. And I got inspired. I did this competition, and today I've just won 1.5 million. Wow. And I'm excited.
Amazing story. Amazing story. So back to written out of the box. You also wrote this book, 25 Things to Do Before 30.
Exactly.
25 things to do before you turn 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your top 3 things that we must do?
Okay. Beautiful. I wrote the book when I was not 30 even.
Okay. Wow.
I read the book, I was not 30. But thank God that before I clocked 30, I worked very hard to get this 30 stuff. Because I always like to live by what I preach, you know. Yeah. It's a lesson that every speaker should learn. Don't say what you don't do. Just only say what you do. And so the top things, first, be in the presence of the Lord. Okay. Yes, you must be in the presence of the Lord, because in the presence of the Lord, you discover who you are. You discover your true identity. And you can never succeed in life if you don't know your true identity, Shirley. You need to know who you are, because until you know who you are, you will always be a waste and a problem to people around you. You need to know who you are. And that's where the journey all began. I had to know who, because you don't know who you are, you cannot speak with confidence. You understand? That's the first thing. And then the second and most important thing that I actually talked about the book is knowledge. You know, I love knowledge a lot. Like, I read like no one's business. I have so many books, thousands of books I bought, and I read all of them. And I don't give my book for people, because research has proven that when people don't go through the pain it takes to buy a book, they will never appreciate it. So when you want to, you can come and stay, read, and then, so get knowledge in whatever you're doing. You know, Shirley, one of the secrets to success in life or to be favored by people is knowledge, is value. How do you feel listening to somebody who has so much value in what he's doing? You feel like, let me support this person in one or two ways. Because he's good at it. No one compares with him. I just say, when you want to wash plates, Shirley, what you do, you cannot just take the sponge, that is not weight, put in the plate and start washing, right? What do? You normally take the sponge, soak in water, and then you apply your soap into it, and then you start washing, isn't it?
That's it.
So that is applicable to life. In whatever you're doing, you must get soaked in it. Because once you're not soaked, you cannot clean it. Just like you want to wash plates, you soak the sponge into water
Preach,
before you.
Oliver.
Yes. So that's what I believe. So the secret to succeed, I'm talking about before 30 now, case studies, is to get yourself soaked. If you're a cameraman, be the best. Have tutorials, go for further studies, have a PhD in camera. You know, if you're a TV host, be the best, be mentored by the best in the world. Because in anything you find your hand doing, you give an account to God. And God does not love mediocrity. You know, I was hearing when I came in that there's what we call the status quo. Status quo is average. And it's a Greek word. Status quo is a Greek word that means the mess we are in. Now, when you're average, you're living in status quo and you're just messing up. Imagine a child drooling, you know, on a table. You can imagine. That's exactly what happens when we are average. And God hates average. And that's why he even said in the book of Matthew that we must serve the Lord with our mind, with our strength, with all our mind. What that means is excellence. God expects you in whatever you're doing to be excellent at it. And if you don't give excellence, he is not for it. So that's what I talked about knowledge. You know, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And you want to succeed in anything you're doing, you want to be the best, get knowledge and the right knowledge.
I buy that.
Thank you. And of course, the last one, I don't want to talk about three. The last one, I talked about, you know, getting familiar. You need to know computer. You know, you need to know computer. You need to have a passport, international passport. Okay. You need to have a driving license before 30.
Wow.
So if you're listening to me right now, you don't have international passport, you're almost at 30, you don't have a driving license, boy, do something about it. Because one error a lot of people do is, you know, I used to say, many people have said, you have this surely probably from a lot of people, luck is when preparation meets opportunities. Yeah. You get it? So a lot of people have missed amazing life opportunities because I personally, in 2015, I missed a job offer, I missed a job offer in Douala that they were paying me for a month around 250 to 300,000 for 1 month. So this guy came from US, a doctor. He set up a medical system here, a hospital in Douala. So he wanted a secretary and a driver. Initially, he wanted 2 people to work for him. Yeah. So literally, he just changed his mind. I need someone who can drive me and then be my secretary. And guess what? I was excellent at computer. Yeah. I did computer engineering at a certain point. So, but guess what? I never had a driving license. And that's how I missed the job. It's crazy. From that day, I started learning driving. Thank God today I have my driving license. Oh. From that very day, I went and paid somebody to start teaching me driving. And that's what I'm talking about. Yes, you must get so much. So these things are not just to get them for getting sick. There are life training opportunities, you miss them. If you don't have a passport, if you don't have a driving license, and you don't have some of these other skills. You know, I want to say, I talked of skills already. Yeah. Every year, every young person listening to me should not learn less than 25 soft skills. Every year. Wow. I just finished with my video editing classes. I've learned a lot of those things. Wow. And that's my target for every year. I learn at least 25 top skills. And so you cannot compare. I used to say the difference between 2 individuals is what one knows and what the other do not know. You get it? Yeah. So you need to equip yourself to an extent you become so relevant that no one can resist you. And then I have one of my mentors, Michael Adipo. I don't know whether he one who said the statement or he heard it from somebody. He said, you need to be able to empty your pocket to invest in your mind. So that at length, your mind will feed back all your pockets. That making sense to you?
It makes sense.
I love that.
It makes sense. If you're enjoying this as much as I am, do not go away because after the break, more with Oliver Nshom. Oliver, we have some questions here. If you don't mind, you just select. So we want you to answer at least 3.
Okay. What is the right age to get married? Woo.
Okay,
I love this one.
All right.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, the right age to get married. Now, I'm going to answer the question on 2 sides. Okay. For a girl and then for a boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that makes some sense to you.
I'm here, Oliver.
Oh, great.
I'm seated here. I'm not married. So
okay.
Please be careful. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, what age is right to get married? Now, let me start with the boy.
Okay.
You know, at 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you could still be not matured to marry. Oh. Even as a man. Like, if you don't have a vision, don't dare get married as a man. So there are people who don't have a vision at 40, so they are not qualified to get married. But now, the minimum year for any young person to get married is 24. 24. Yes, standard. Standard. It's written in a lot of conventions. 24 years. Because I believe that at 24, you're a little bit mature psychologically. Because psychologically, you must be mature, not only financially.
Yeah.
We've seen how young boys are messed up with so much money in their hands, beat up their wives, and which is terrible. So you should be at least 24 years as a boy before you start thinking of getting married. But of course, I have situations people. I know I have my assistant had a brother who got married at 22. I think something like that.
Yeah.
So for me, there are always abnormal cases. They're out of the box.
Obviously,
People always think out of the box, and
yeah.
so. But that's the standard age for a boy to get married with a man.
What about the girl?
The girl? At least 18 years.
What are you saying?
At least 18 years.
Okay.
Yes, it should be at least 18 years. Marriage just have to do with a lot of psychology, maturity. And so if you're not really mature enough, I really don't advise, because there's a lot of heat in marriage.
Yeah.
There are storms that if you are thinking or reason like a child, boy, you destroy it. So you need wisdom.
Yeah.
For instance, there are situations, issues in the family or you're married, you don't have to share, with everybody. You don't have to share, even with your parents. So if you don't mature, you just go ahead sharing those things, and that's how you get it shattered.
Wow. Okay. Second question.
Yes, let me get this
please.
one. Which situation did you realize the value of education in your life? Boom.
Wow.
I
Man,
love
among
this.
all these questions, education comes to you.
Yeah. The value of education. I want to make it very clear here. Education is not the degrees we have in school, not the qualification we have, the A levels, the O levels, the first. That's not education. Yes. Because we have educated derricks. How can you explain the fact that a medical doctor, a PhD, is looking for a job? Doesn't make sense to you. How can you explain the fact that somebody having a master's, a PhD, is poor? He doesn't have money to buy gas or to do the things you want to do. Doesn't make sense. So education is not only the ability to get degrees, but the ability to damage your ignorance, your folly, and replace it with substance, with real knowledge that can help you to be relevant wherever you find yourself. That is education to me. So the question, which situation did you realize the value of education in your life? Beautiful. Well, that was when I started reading books.
Wow.
Now, what happened when you read books is that when you read people's books, you are sitting with them like this. So if I read 50 books in a year, like Bill Gates does, and that's what makes him the richest man in the world. And Bill Gates was asked, what is the greatest miracle you want to happen in your life? He said, read more books. The ability to read more books. So when you read books, you are actually having debate, mentorship, sessions and training conferences with those guys who have written the book.
Yeah.
And imagine that you're taught by best brains in the world by reading their books. That is the turning point that I experienced in my life. Okay, what do you look for in a lady? Wow, this is beautiful. What do you look for in a lady? Listen to me, young guys. What do you look for in a lady? First, this is not it cannot be contested.
You know what you're talking about.
I know. This is conscious competence.
Okay.
The fear of the Lord.
Okay.
Please listen to me. Don't make an error. The fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord. No, beauty of a woman is not physically. It's not the physical. That's not beauty. Please don't be deceived. The beauty of the woman is her heart. How resilient, how prayerful is she. That is the beauty of the woman. So I can recommend any young person without any idea or without any doubt to get married to a lady that has a fear of the Lord. What that means, it means a lot. It means everything. There are times where you are totally broke. There are times where if you get married to the wrong lady, your career will just shatter. There are times like that. But because she is resilient, she's patient, right? She has a fear of the Lord, and she respects, she fears God, then she fears you. Yeah. That is the right lady. That's the best quality. Because when you fear God, you are patient.
Yeah.
You understand? When you have the fear of the Lord, you respect. Because women are the crown of men. If you see a man that is disrespected out there, Shirley, is a man that the wife disrespect at home. Yeah. Because what the woman does to the man is what people emulate, what people copy and do to the man. So you not afford to get married to a lady that doesn't have the fear of the Lord, who will disrespect you. When you don't have money maybe to give food allowance and stuff, he will insult you and you will regret. And when she insults you, the other people will copy and do the same, and the children will do the same. So you'll be breeding a generation of disrespectful people.
I get that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oliver, do you have some people you would like to shout out to?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say shout out to my parents. They might not be watching it because they're in the village. To my wife and the children, uh, and to my amazing mentors and coaches. I'm thinking of Coach Rosie from South Africa, mentor Oloko Emmanuel, Coach Dennis, and many others around the world. And to the amazing crew of Shirlma Show,
Wow.
not forgetting my mentees and coaches that I've worked with in Bamenda, the Talent Incubator crew, and the Youth World Organization crew. Hey guys, stay blessed wherever you are. Keep walking the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oliver, how can people get to you? Because I know after this interview, people will be rushing to get to you. So how can
Amen.
people reach you?
Yeah, that would be actually a blessing because that's what we have been praying for and that's what God has wanted for good reasons. So how do people get to me? Of course, I have a main port to me. Like I have my website,
Okay.
www.shomoliver.com.
Okay.
Yeah, there I have everything. That's if you get there, you can get everything about me. You get to me by WhatsApp, by Facebook, by Instagram, by YouTube. So www.shomoliver.com. If you get that domain, you get it. You get to my website. Any other thing is secondary.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure having you today on the Shirlma Show, and I really enjoyed the interview. And keep doing what you do. You're good at it. On today's edition of the Shirlma Show, we're blessed to be in the company of Oliver Nshom, a professional speaker and the author of books such as Step Out of the Box, Digital Evangelism, 25 Things to Do Before 30. Thanks for always being there for us. We are here because you're there. And please, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share our videos. Thank you.